Hey chess masters, Coach Sipho here. Our last video was discussing about the reasons why you are so good at solving tactical puzzles, but you can barely spot tactics during your real games. That is one of the most important videos I've recorded on this channel, and I strongly believe that it will dramatically improve your overall chess. Those who did not watch that video, I recommend that you watch it for your own good. I'm going to pin it at the end of this video. From that video, we concluded that the main reason you are good at solving tactical puzzles, but you can't spot tactics during your real games, is because you are using two different thinking systems. You have a thinking system for solving puzzles, which is, I know there must be a brilliant move in this position. There must be something, there must be a mate, or I'm winning material or something. But when you play a real game, you don't think with the same thinking system. You don't know that there might be a checkmate or you might be winning a free piece. So you tend to let your gut off. So that is why you miss these tactics. So from that video, we spoke about the importance of the forcing moves, 3 forcing moves. And of course, those who watch the video will know what are the 3 forcing moves. The check, when you check your opponent, they are forced to do something about it. When you capture the opponent's piece, they are almost always forced to capture back, otherwise they will be material down. Or when you threaten something, let's say you attack opponent's piece, that's a threat and it is forcing your opponent to do something. So I received a WhatsApp message from some of my students or like my viewers. The messages had something in common. They were like, so what do you mean, Coach Sipho? Do you mean we should be always on our toes? We should always think about tactics from move 1 until the last move of chess? That was their question. And the honest answer is this: yes, you should always think about tactics from move 1 until the end. However, there are hints that will let you know, like an experienced chess player can tell when there is a tactic in a given position. So today we are going to discuss about those hints, those clues that will let you know when there is a tactic in a particular position. And there are 3 clues or hints. So without any more delays, let's dive into them. When, for example, your opponent has hanging pieces. Hanging pieces are undefended chess pieces. That is a hint that there might be a tactic. It could be a piece that is not defended, even if it is not attacked, or a piece that is insufficiently defended. A piece that is hanging means you have no piece that is attacking that piece, but that piece is undefended at all. An insufficiently defended piece, that means you are defending that piece once and it is defended once. That means it is not defended enough. So that's number 1. If your opponent has some undefended pieces, it is a hint that there might be a tactic. So you need to look more in that particular position. When there are forcing moves, for example, if you see that there is a check, even if it seems like it doesn't work on the first glance. So forcing moves, there is a check in a position. For example, there is a check in this position. Knight can go to g6, even though it seems like it doesn't work at first. You should know that there might be tactics there. It's a hint. So checks, opponent's pieces are undefended. 2. The third one, when you have more activity than your opponent, your pieces are more active than the opponent's pieces in general, or you have more activity than your opponent in a particular area of the board. let's say on the king side, you have more activity than the opponent can defend. That's another hint that there might be a tactic in that particular position. 4, okay, the 4th one, that one comes with experience, but you don't really need the 4th one, but it helps to know the tactical motifs, like a pin, like a fork, or mating patterns, like Anastasia's mate, Arabian mate, smothered mate, you know, those typical mates, back rank checkmate. If you know them, then you might have an idea that it might work in this particular position. So without any more delays, let's dive into them, guys. We are going to solve about maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay, 10, 11, 12. Maybe we're going to end here. And whenever we're solving these tactics, I want you to keep in mind of these 4 hints. Okay, looking at this position from our previous video, you know we should look at forcing moves. Do we have a check? Do we have a capture? Do we have a threat? And also when they are hanging pieces. Here we do have forcing moves. There is a check. There is a check. And opponent's piece is undefended. So you already have some hints here that there might be a tactic. Now you need to focus on this position and think about what can you do to punish the opponent. For example, since I know, of course, I'm an experienced player, and I'm saying that with humility. I already know about the Anastasia's mate. Anastasia's mate means when there is a knight on e7. If this file could be open, let's say the rook comes here, and let's say the pawn wasn't on h7. The pawn, this file was open, there is no pawn there. As long as the knight is there on e7, if you make a check, it would be a checkmate, because the knight is guarding g8 and it is also guarding g6. You see that tactic, that mating pattern gives me a hint that there must also be something. So I know take, the king takes, then rook check, it's a checkmate. Bishop block, we take, checkmate. Okay, I spotted this tactic using my experience, like their mating patterns. And if you don't have experience, or you don't know different mating patterns like Anastasia's mate, back rank, Arabian mate, smothered mate, and so many other mating patterns which are very typical, I recommend you watch one of our previous videos, and it has a lot of views. Many people liked that video. It is called 100 Ways of Dying at Chess, or 100 Ways of Losing at Chess. Watch that video. Maybe I will also pin it here. So I was helped by my knowledge of tactic of mating patterns. I know the Anastasia's mate, that when the knight is on e7, I just need to open the h file. I just need to open the h file. That is why I was like, okay, I can open the h file. Opponent takes, then the rook comes here. That's how I got to the mate. Checkmate. And keep in mind, guys, even if you don't know these mating patterns, you don't know experience, by just looking at the forcing moves, remember our previous video, look at forcing moves. Do you have a check? Yes, in this position you do have a check. What happens if I check? My opponent takes, but will you have a check after that? Yes. So even if you did not know the Anastasia's mate, just keep in mind what we learned from our previous video, right? The reason why you are good at solving puzzles but you are bad at in your real games, at spotting them in your real games. You would still find this checkmate without the experience of mating patterns. Okay, they say I solved this puzzle, find the counter attack. That means what if it was black's turn in this position? So let's play for black. If it was black's turn, let's see. Of course, you look at checks first. Do we have a check? Remember, forcing moves. Yes, we do have a check. If the opponent takes, will we have another check? Yes, we do check. And opponent goes there and we go there. It would be a checkmate. So we're just look at forcing moves. Okay, this is a forcing move. A forcing move is a check, capture, threat. So when it is your turn to play, always look for forcing moves. If they don't work, is fine, just continue with your normal game, but always start by looking for checks, capture, and threat. So I'm looking for checks. This is the only check in the position. Check, king takes, check. The only way to get out of this check is king b1, otherwise the bishop is controlling this diagonal. After king b1, rook a1, and it's a checkmate. But after we take, what if the opponent does not take? The opponent would go there, check, king goes there. In fact, it doesn't matter if the opponent doesn't take, but we would have won a pawn. But take, opponent goes there, take goes there. Yeah, at the very least we will win a pawn. Check. Yeah, I think we can take here. Or push the pawn. This is another option. If we push the pawn, or if we push the pawn doesn't work because they have a checkmate there. Take and rook there. So pushing the pawn doesn't work. So I think taking is the only counter attack here. And then we check. And then checkmate. So we spotted that one using forcing moves. So even when you play real games, always look for the forcing moves. Okay, let's go to the next puzzle. It is black's turn here. It is black's turn. So what can we do? What can we do? Do we have a check? Yes, we have a check. We have two checks. And these are our only two forcing moves. They might seem as if they are not working at first, but explore them even if for some few seconds. It won't kill. Let's say queen takes, king takes, rook checks, king goes there. It's not promising. Okay, we are not checkmating white here. Queen takes, check, and then nothing after that. But then what about this check? Knight checks, and then we can already, because of our mating patterns knowledge or experience, we already know that the rook cannot take our knight because of a back rank mate. The rook cannot afford to leave the back rank because the queen would go to f1 and it would be a mate. Rook blocks, queen takes, and it's a checkmate. The king cannot escape on c-file. There would be a rook after knight here. So the rook is guarding the entire c-file. So if we check, the rook is guarding this file. Rook takes, check, and it leads to checkmate. So the queen doesn't work, but the knight we can check, and the rook can't take us. So if the rook can't take us, what can white do? Goes there. So we've already learned from our previous puzzle that when the knight is on e7, it guards there g8 and g6 square, and it is there Anastasia's mate. But okay, in this case, this is not e7. The board is turned around. it is d2, but it is the same concept. Once the knight is there, it guards that square and that square. Meaning, if this file could be opened and you check, the king cannot go here or there because the knight is on d2 or e7. We know that the rook won't be able to take our knight, so we can go there. When the king goes there, we open that file. If the king takes, then rook comes here. It becomes Anastasia's mate reversed because the knight is not on e7. It is on d2. It is black who's winning now. Remember, if the rook takes us, instead of moving the king, we checkmate. We're also helped by the knowledge of mating patterns. We know the back rank mate. We know that the rook won't move because of a back rank mate. And we're also helped by the Anastasia's mate. Since they did not take us, we know the knight is guarding there, guarding there. All we have to do is to open this file and check. The king can't come here, can't go there because of the knight. Thanks to our knowledge of the mating patterns, or using the forcing moves. Okay, this one we are playing white. The first thing we need to do is to look for the forcing moves. Do we have a check? Yes, we do have a check from the knight. We do have a check from the queen. We don't have another check. So these are the two forcing moves. This is the third one. It is a capture, but we cannot afford to capture because of this back rank we've already learned. So this capture doesn't work because of the opponent's counter attack after the knight comes here. So this forcing move capture doesn't work. Let's look at the checks. Queen takes, king takes, knight checks, king goes back, and we don't have a follow-up. So this one doesn't work. We're just losing a queen. But if something doesn't work, maybe we might come back to this try and see if there is something hidden. But at the moment, it doesn't work. We checked it. Remember, you don't have to spend many minutes. Just like look at the few forcing move. Queen takes, king takes, knight comes here, it's a check, and the king goes back, and we've got nothing after that. So this check doesn't work. What about this check? Knight comes here, pawn takes. Okay, if knight comes here, check. If the king doesn't take and goes there, this knight will come there, and it would be a checkmate. So knight comes here. If the king moves, this one goes there, checkmate, because this one is guarding that square. Okay, so black doesn't have a choice but to take when we check. Okay, knight comes here, pawn takes. That pawn is undefended, so check. If they block with the bishop, if they go to the corner, we have this knight, checkmate. If they block with the bishop, we check. And once there is this check and we have a knight here, because of our knowledge of the smothered mate, we already know that it will be a forced checkmate. That is why we know it works now, thanks to our knowledge of the mating patterns. Check. And then thanks to our knowledge of the smothered mate, once the queen goes there, and checkmate, thanks to our knowledge of the smothered mate. So far we've noticed that the forcing moves are helping us. Our knowledge of the mating patterns or tactical motifs are also helping us. Okay, but then if you have more activity than your opponent at a certain area of the board, tactics will are most likely gonna favor you. Okay. Okay, for example, in this position, white has 1, 2, 3 attackers. Black has like okay, we can say black also has 3 defenders. But then white has 3 active attackers on this file. 1, 2, 3. They're all attacking at the same area. And black has 1, 2, 3. That pawn is insufficiently defended. If we can remove one of the defenders of this pawn, we would win the game. That's how we can spot a move like this. Queen takes. The only way to get out of check is to take our queen. Then rook takes. It's a checkmate. Why did this? How did we know that there might be a tactic in this position? Because white has more active pieces at one area of the board than the opponent. And this piece is insufficiently defended. Remember, an insufficiently defended piece is when attackers are equal to defenders. One of the defenders could be removed. That is why this works. Queen takes. No, wait. Oh, it is black's turn. It is black's turn. It is more like an Anastasia's mate again. If we can pull the king to come here. So that is why that works. Even if you did not know the Anastasia's mate, think of forcing moves. And you can already see after a check, there is a check. A check is a forcing move. Takes. Rook checks. It's a checkmate. Thanks to our knowledge of the Anastasia's mate again. By the way, those who are confused about what is Anastasia's mate, what is mother mate, I recommend you watch that video, The 100 Ways of Dying at Chess. It teaches you about different ways of checkmating your opponent. Okay, counter attack. We already noticed that white has more pieces attacking, black has equal number of pieces defending, so that pawn is insufficiently defended. So if we can remove some of the defenders of this pawn, if we take, we are going to remove 2 defenders of this pawn. Because we remove the knight, we also remove the queen. The queen is no longer defending. We remove 2 pieces and we will be left with 2 pieces attacking that pawn. So it will be a checkmate. And our knowledge of the Arabian mate also helped us here. I know the Arabian mate, it is when the knight is on f6 and the rook checkmates protected by the knight here or on the back rank. So it is the knowledge of the mating patterns. But even if you did not know it, just use the forcing moves. Whatever position you have when you play a real game, always calculate forcing moves, checks, captures, and threats. Okay, let's move on. Now in this position, all black's pieces are defended, so that's not the case. These checks, check, take, check, takes, check, king goes there. So this check doesn't work. Check, queen takes, it doesn't work. So captures do not work, checks do not work. A threat, and we can already see that white has more pieces on the king side. 1, it is on the king side. 2, it's facing on the king side. 3, and black has only 1 piece defending that king. That is a hint that there might be a tactic if you have more activity overall, or you have more activity on one particular part of the board than your opponent. So checks don't work, captures don't work, but this threat work because check attacking the queen. The queen has nowhere to go if the bishop comes here, because if the queen goes there, then you fork the king and the queen if the queen goes there. But what if the pawn takes? The pawn takes, the queen takes, oh, okay. Again, it is the Anastasia's mate, because after we come here, pawn takes, queen takes, that file is opened. So we just need our knight to be on e7, and then it will lead to a checkmate. Let me demonstrate how it will happen. It is because of the Anastasia's mate. This file is opened. So if we can go there, it would be a checkmate, because the king cannot come to this file. But the problem, if we go there right away, the queen will take us. So what we need to do is to use a tactical motif. If knowing the tactical motifs are chess weapons, like a fork, like a pin, we call those tactical motifs. So we want our knight to go there, it would be a checkmate. But if we go there right away, the queen will take us. So we need to use a tactical motif called a decoy to move that queen from that diagonal. That's how we spot queen goes there. Because now if the queen takes us, now our knight will go there, check. And the queen won't be able to take us after taking our queen. Check. If the king goes there, we take the queen and it's a checkmate. If they take us, now the queen is no longer guarding e7. Check. And then we take the queen now. Thanks to our knowledge of the Anastasia's mate. Again. Okay, let's solve maybe some 2 more. Then we are done. And there's a bonus. There's a bonus at the end. If you are an attentive chess player or student, you will notice that there will be a pattern that you should recognize, something that I did not mention on these hints. For example, here it is black's turn. Do I have a check? Yes, this is the only check. If they take, what else do I have? Rook here, checkmate. Here we're helped by knowing about the concept of forcing moves. Whenever there is a check, even if it seems bad at first, we still go for it. Counter attack this task. It is white's turn. Do we have a forcing move? Yes, we have a check. The bishop takes. The rook takes, king takes, nothing if we check with the queen. What about if we check with the rook? Takes. This is the only way. Otherwise, if they move, let's say to f8, we can always, or if they move to f8, that means the rooks are no longer connected. So if we check with the rook and they move, the rooks are no longer connected, we can take that rook. But what if they don't go to f8, which is the only square? What if they take our rook? Do we have another check? Yes. The bishop moved, so the queen can come here. And now their king is forced to disconnect the rooks. And then we take that rook and we take that rook. So here we're also forced by the concept of forcing moves. There is a check in the position, so we go for it. If this check didn't work, the queen check doesn't work. If this check didn't work, then we're gonna look for other forcing moves like a capture. If they don't work, then we're gonna try to improve our position. Maybe do something just to improve our position, improve our activity. But this check works. Check. Forced to disconnect rooks. Now that rook is no longer defended. Then after that, we're gonna take that rook. And white is easily winning a queen against 2 bishops. And notice something here. From this position, I want you to notice something. Okay, let's go to this position. Okay, in fact, let me reveal. If you look at this position, you will notice that the opponent's king has no squares. That should be a very big hint. If the opponent's king has nowhere to go, there's a bishop. You should always, that's a big hint that you might be closer to a checkmate. You are 1 check away from checkmate. Because if you can just find a check, the opponent's king has nowhere to go. So it's a big hint that there is a tactic in that position, as we've already seen that rook takes, king takes, rook checkmate. Here we notice the same thing. The king has nowhere to go. So if we can just find a check, we have a check, rook takes, rook checkmate, because the king cannot come here thanks to the pawn. Counterplay this task. We are playing white now. We are playing white. Do we have a check? Yes, we do have a check, even though it seems bad at first glance. Do we have a capture? Yes, we do have a capture. Bishop takes. What happens? Okay, bishop takes, queen takes. 3 points, 3 points. Okay, it doesn't help. Okay, this is another capture, but we can't go for this capture. We already know that black is threatening to checkmate us after taking here. So this is not forcing enough, since black has a more forcing move. So in total here we just have 2 forcing moves, a check and a capture. We know a capture doesn't work because we just take 3, and they take 3, it's equal. Or black won't even take our bishop because they have a checkmate. No, it's not a checkmate after we take the bishop, but we take 3 points, they take 3 points. What about a check? Check. They take our queen, we take their bishop with a check, and now we can take the queen. And this tactic has to do with a hanging piece. This queen is undefended. That means our rook can take this queen anytime if we can find a way to move the bishop. But we don't want to make a passive move the bishop like this, because we will be checkmated. So how about checking first? Bishop takes, check. When the king gets out of check, we take the queen. Yeah, it works. And this one had something to do with a queen that was hanging undefended. Okay, 2 more puzzles, and we get to that position again where the king has no square to go to. The bishop is controlling this square. The king has nowhere to go to. If only we could find a way to check that king, and that check, king takes, knight check, king goes there, check, and checkmate. It works. So whenever the opponent's king has nowhere to go, it's a big sign that there might be a checkmate. Check. Blocking with the knight is the only way. Otherwise, where will the king go? Nowhere. Check and checkmate. Counterplay. Okay, it is white's turn. White's turn. Do we have a check? Yes. Queen takes, king takes. Queen takes is a check, king takes, and we've got nothing after that. Queen takes, king takes. We don't have any other check, so it doesn't work. But it was worth it to look at it, even if for some few seconds. Queen takes doesn't work. Do we have another check? Yes. Bishop here. Rook takes. Queen takes, king takes. It doesn't work. Queen doesn't work. Bishop doesn't work. Okay, knight check. Knight checks. King has nowhere to go, but they can take us. Bishop takes. Rook takes. It doesn't work. So all these checks don't work. Okay, we have this check doesn't work. This check doesn't work. This check doesn't. But the queen has one more check. Check. If they block with their rook, we take, and it's a checkmate. Our queen is defended by the bishop. So the only way to get out of check is to take us. And since the king has nowhere to go, now we can mate it. Again, it has something to do with the king having no square to go to. So that's a hint. And also because of our tactical motifs knowledge, we know that our knight, if our knight can get here, it would be a fork, forking the queen and the knight, the queen and the king. So queen take, queen comes here, check, rook blocks, checkmate. But what if the bishop takes? The knight goes there now. and it's a checkmate. It works. Here we were helped by our knowledge of tactical motifs and of the forcing moves. Checkmate. The king has nowhere to go. Okay, last one, guys. Last one. Because I don't want to make this video too long, but you get the point. These are the 4 things. The 5th one was a bonus. When the king has nowhere to go, for example, in this position again, the opponent's king has nowhere to go, and I won't even solve this one. The opponent's king has nowhere to go. So how do you checkmate here? This is your task to find out if you can be able to apply all this knowledge we just learned. Thank you for watching this week's video. This channel is committed to uploading at least 1 video per week, so please help our channel grow by smashing that subscribe button. And now we're over 200 subscribers. Thanks to you. Without you, it wouldn't be possible. Until next week, peace.